And a special edition on a Sunday, broadcasting live from Circa, Las Vegas. We are the PHLY Sixers Podcast. Derek Bodner, Kyle Neubeck, I'm Devon Givens. Emma with us again here on this Sunday. And we have a lot to talk about as we broadcast live from this fantastic casino here and sportsbook here in Las Vegas. Circa, Las Vegas is a tremendous, tremendous spot where we're once again looking at these screens. And, folks, it is
the screens are the only thing keeping me awake and alive right now.
Not
it's
even
just the
coffee.
Bright lights.
Yeah, nothing even there yet. It's 11:01 here. We're doing the show, and I'm watching Trey Turner just hit another home run for the Phillies to give them a 1-0 lead in the first inning. And, Derek,
Trey Turner home runs or PHLY Sixers emergency pods in July?
Wow.
What's higher?
What's higher? What gets higher?
I think we might have him beat. But he's been on fire.
It's got to be close.
Yeah. It's very close. It's very close. But, look, fantastic place that we are. And we told you about it yesterday on our Saturday show. And it's amazing. And we hope that you're able to come here and hang out at this amazing, amazing place. This place is fantastic with the Stadium Swim, where we'll be broadcasting from tomorrow, Kyle. Outside there and getting some sun with some bucket
Thankfully,
hats.
it's cooled down a little bit.
It has.
We're down in like the 100s rather than the 110s.
When you and I were out the other morning last week, almost a week ago, and we were out at 9:30 in the morning, it was 105. I looked at it this morning, it was 95. So a significant difference.
I can deal with that. I can deal with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, we appreciate everybody for hanging out with us here. Live from Circa, Las Vegas, our sponsor here for our time here. We're also presented by our good friends from Rothman Orthopedics, and we appreciate them as always. If you or anybody in your family is in need of some assistance immediately, an MRI, you need an X-ray, you need to simply go to a spot to get checked out, like an urgent care, Rothman Orthopedics has you covered. We were at Game 1 of the Las Vegas Summer League for the Summer Sixers yesterday. We'll talk about what we saw there, some sights and some sounds from that. We'll also get into a little bit of the offseason moves that Daryl Morey made to help put together this roster for the Sixers. We said, not just us, but you, so many people pointed out how Daryl Morey basically needed to nail this offseason. Outside the Paul George addition, which most people agree was a good move, we want to know what your favorite move of the offseason was. We'll get to that a little bit later. We'll get Kyle and Derek's thoughts, mine as well. We'll talk about that. But first, we need to discuss what we saw in the Summer League game yesterday. And a little bit of Ricky Council, of course, being the star of the team,
a lot
which
of bit of Ricky Council,
but
right?
we expect that. Yeah. So that's the norm now at this point, from the Utah Summer League to Game 1 yesterday. Not many surprises. He went out there and did his job to do what Ricky Council IV does. Go get him, Rick. And we also had a surprising, though, star from the game yesterday. It wasn't Jared McCain, was not Justin Edwards, was not R.J. Hampton, was not. It was Keve Aluma, who was pretty good, Kyle, yesterday.
I think it might be Keve, but I need to check with him today. That's how Ricky pronounced it. We do have
Did he?
Yes. So
okay.
I would assume that he knows.
I would hope so.
I hope he knows.
But he's probably known him as long as we've known him now.
Imagine if we've been talking to you this long and you actually wanted to go by Devin. Well, that would be a shocker, right?
Yeah, I would have corrected you by now, but it's okay. Yeah. You know, I've had that in my past.
I've heard that a couple times here out in
Yes,
Vegas.
you have, yes. And I just corrected them very nicely. I've been dealing with it for many, many years. It's okay. So Keve, if that is his name, we have to respect him and call him Keve because he was really good yesterday.
We will get clarity from the man himself today.
Yes. Let's just call him Aluma, K. Aluma, for this podcast.
Yes. He had a great game yesterday. And frankly, he's played really well throughout Summer League, played well in Utah. I think the thing that it's gone from, well, this guy's an older prospect, I don't really, whatever, maybe he'll play for the Blue Coats, to I think maybe being worth a two-way look is that he's just shown you so many different things, right? Like, he's had really soft hands. He's been a pretty good rebounder. He has shot the hell out of the ball, right? Like, hit a couple of threes yesterday. He's been an offensive rebounder. He's been a good connected passer at times. Last night in the the final stretch of that game as Derek coughs up his soul across the table. At the end of that game, he hits a spot-up three on a pick and pop. And I believe either the next possession or shortly afterward, they come back down, they run the same play, and he uses the defense knowing, okay, this guy just hit a shot. Yep. I'm going to close out on him to take his guy off the dribble. He gets to the basket, gets fouled, gets the N1. And so it was every action, every positive thing he did then went to another thing, like got to the next level. Like, okay, you have to respect my shot. Now I'm putting it on the floor. Okay, you felt me here. On the next offensive rebounding opportunity, I'm going to slide into this spot, get better positioning, whatever it is. He took a charge. He hit had a few laughs about the double clutch jumper he hit from mid-range yesterday that was just like,
there's no way
kind of a desperation shot that went in. So that stuff is like, that's a bonus on top of the other things, but I think has shown good positional sense. And given that he's probably like, 6'9", I think they have him listed at.
Yeah.
Given that he's probably not a true full-time center type of guy, the fact that he has shot the ball well and made you think about, okay, maybe there's a possibility he can play in some of these double big type looks or as like a big forward type of thing. That's what's been most encouraging, I think, because everything else has been good all along the way.
Yeah, and that's really a question because in the past, last year in the Korean League, 2 years ago in Japan, he hasn't really shot the ball all that great from the perimeter. Like we're talking 32 to 35% over those 2 years. Pretty good volume, which is an indicator. Pretty good from the free throw line, but has never really made threes at a high rate until getting here in Summer League. So that's why I think if you're on the fence of give him a two-way contract, that's sort of what you want to see. Like, can he, on a higher volume, on a night-night basis against tougher competition, can a shot that he's showing now, and I think the shot, like, it looks good, can he translate that against tougher competition and, like I said, bigger sample size? Because, like you mentioned, he is a little undersized. He doesn't necessarily have a great wingspan or standing reach to overcome that. Like, he's got to be an undersized center, maybe an occasional four, but in order to be that, he's got to space the floor. He's got to give you plus value in that regard, open up the lane for other players. That's how he's going to add value, so you have to find out whether or not that shot is real. It's looked real good here in the two summer leagues.
Yes.
So it's intriguing. It's not necessarily known. It's not certain. But it's certainly worth a longer look.
And when we talk about Jeff Doughton as an older player in this system here, in this organization, on a two-way contract last year before it was turned into a standard NBA deal by the end of the season, why not this guy, at least to start things off? Certainly maybe at least a training camp invite, he may get that, and then work his way into that final two-way contract. Because, look, Justin Edwards one, what was it, David Jones the other for him. So that one left spot, and we haven't seen much from David Jones, to be perfectly honest with you. And, look, it's crowded. We know about the guard position here and the wing position for the 76ers right now on this particular roster. So, look, David Jones may still make it, but this guy is putting out there a case for him to do just that. From Utah to now where we are in Game 1, still plenty of time to go, but he's doing some really good things. And this is what Summer League is all about. We talked about yesterday, hey, Jared McCain, Ricky Council, go out there and make your mistakes because this is the forum to do that. While you still want to play well, if you're going to make mistakes, you make mistakes. But there's also for a player like this one, we talked about, hey, Jared McCain, you need to play better because other guys are coming after you. Guess what?
They're playing for their NBA futures.
Right. Those other big men in Jared McCain's spot on the other teams are now going against a player who is playing for his future.
100%.
With the travel that he has had, mentioning Korea and all the countries that he visited over the course of his professional career. Everyone wants to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
And he's doing that right now. That sequence, Kyle, that you talked about in the fourth quarter, he was fantastic. Hitting that three, making a good play on the other end, coming back down, ball fake, driving on the closeout, getting the and one. And that shot that you mentioned, just a pretty good sign. And then Coach Matt talking about it after the game, also just saying, the guy has some good skill sets there with him. And this is what you want to see. And he highlighted that after making that three. Pretty good shot. It looked pretty good. And then he goes in and attacks that closeout and gets the finish. So good work from him. And, again, if Jeff Doughton at 27, if he's good enough, it would be tough if this guy continues to play this way that they wouldn't at least give it a thought with Daryl Morey and company sitting on the sideline there at the game yesterday.
Yeah, and look, like what good organizations do is you have to try to find guys in all different places, right? And that means at different points in their career, they're at different ages, in smaller leagues versus the more common, like, hey, this guy plays in Spain or like one of the bigger European leagues. You have to keep tabs all over the world.
I don't have a whole lot of experience with Mobus Phobus, I got to admit.
I don't either, but so it's like,
come on, man, get it together.
You have to be open to the idea that even though he's 25, he'll be 26 at I believe around New Year's Eve, something like that, that he could potentially be a player. You have to at least be open to the idea. You can't just close off the thought of, well, he's this old and that means he's tapped out, he's not an NBA guy, whatever. And, I talked to him a little bit after his presser yesterday. I'm hoping to get some exclusive content for us at some point later today as we go to Sixers practice. But, when you hear him talk about the experience of going overseas, but going to Japan and Korea specifically, I don't think people understand how much of a challenge just making that leap is initially for a kid right out of college. Like, you're going somewhere where it is not as easy to find people who speak the same language as you do. And so he has to use translators on a frequent basis. And it's so far for flights that you're more than likely not seeing your family, your friends from back home for long periods of time. Like, it's not like, so I believe he's from Maryland originally. Yes. Maryland-ish, East Coast to like Western Europe is, let's say, a 5-6 hour flight. The East Coast to Japan is a much longer flight. You're talking about, 16, 17 hours, depending on, how that flight is coming together. And so you isolate yourself. You are strictly there to like focus on your dream. You are not getting visitors. And so he has come here as a guy that's gone through that the last few years, been playing, trying to make a name for himself over there. And he's coming ready to prove exactly who he is and what he wants to be. And so you brought up the training camp thing. I think the tricky thing for whether it's the Sixers or somebody else is that, are you just taking an Exhibit 10 to hope to get into the league if you're him, knowing that you've carved out a decent niche overseas in Korea, in Japan? Or do you need the security of, like, I'm getting a two-way contract, I'm getting some kind of like real guarantee beyond just that training camp money that you get on an Exhibit 10? I don't know. He's going to have to weigh that, but I would assume, based on what we've seen both in Utah and that first Vegas game, somebody's going to give him a look, if I had to guess.
And just a quick refresher for the audience on Exhibit 10s. You usually get like a bonus, like maybe a $50,000 bonus.
Which is not nothing.
It's not nothing to come to training camp. And usually then with the agreement that if you are waived, you end up on the G League team, not on a two-way contract, on a G League contract. But that's sort of like a little bit of a bonus to help make that a little more price competitive. Not that he couldn't get a better deal elsewhere. He probably could. And most people who take an Exhibit 10 contract are turning down maybe an overseas deal that they could get a little more money for because they're trying to play for that shot to play in the NBA. But it's somewhere as a go-between between a true two-way contract and a G League contract.
One of the things that stood out when he was speaking after the game, and Kyle, you talked about his seasons, and he mentioned how long they are. The 10 months in one, 8 months in another.
Yeah.
And you don't get a lot of a break. And that's, look, we know the NBA is a very, very long season as well.
Yeah.
But the only time that you're going to play as long as they do is when you get to June in the NBA Finals. Yep. So, but for him, I mean, the grind is real. And we know that. There's a lot of money to be made elsewhere. But everyone, again, wants to suit up and put it on an NBA jersey and play in an NBA. And look, for him, too, coming from Maryland, being in that area, it's not too far from his home if he would have make this team or even be a part of again a two-way.
And after being isolated to that degree, I can't imagine how good it would feel to be like, hey, my family, my people are like a short drive away.
Even if it is, all right, he has to go down and play for the Blue Coats, and he's doing that just to keep it going, get some competition in there, and get some real run in. Mm-hmm. They can still come see him play versus being over in whatever country that he may be in next season potentially. So it's a good story, and I like the fact that a lot of people are talking about him recognizing in the chat of how well he is playing. Even on Twitter before yesterday, there were people reaching out on social media just saying, yo, this guy's pretty good.
What do you think of this guy type of thing?
Right, this guy's pretty good. So, Derek, when you look at him and you see him, I think someone mentioned, I breezed past it, but someone said he's like a poor man's Al Horford. We're not comparing him to anybody. It's just more of his skill set for what he is. But he is an undersized 5, but he can shoot a little bit. We can probably play the 4 a little if they had to throw him on the floor for 5 minutes. We're just guessing. We're just spitballing here. But if he were to make the team and you looked at him and they put him out there for a couple of minutes to get something out of him, how do you see him projecting to a professional roster in the NBA?
The most honest answer is I don't know. Because it's a completely different game than what we're seeing here. We haven't seen him play really against high-level competition. Like, he was the tallest player on his team last year in Korea. He was the tallest player on the floor most nights. The difference between a summer league and an NBA game in terms of athleticism and size is completely different. So a lot of what he's doing now, do I know it can translate? No, I don't. And that's why I think a lot of people are like, well, make him the backup 4, make him, he can be fill a position need. I don't know that, but I think that's why a two-way contract is so appealing. He can get more money than he otherwise would as a G League contract. You can bring him up here for a week or 2, give him minutes, maybe when you have an injury, see whether or not that translates. You can see what he's doing here that he can do on an NBA floor and against NBA competition. That's really it, because the theory of him is, that's intriguing. Like the shooting, a little bit. He's not like a great passer, not an Al Horford level passer, but I think he can be a connective kind of passer.
Yeah.
He can do a little bit off the bounce. Again, not a lot that for sure it's going to translate, but something that's at least interesting. The theory of him is interesting. Now I think you give him a two-way contract, give him a chance to get some actual real NBA game experience, and see whether or not that can translate to a reality. Even as I look, I don't think anybody hears, 2 years down the road, he might be a starter. I don't think anyone's expecting that, but can he be a legitimate NBA, I don't even want to say rotation, but like roster player? I think that's why a two-way contract, even if he is maybe a little bit older than a standard two-way would typically be, I think that's intriguing because he has been playing overseas, because he has been playing relatively out of the spotlight and in competition that is pretty drastically different than what he'd see here.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that on the other side, Kyle, because I want to talk about something else in regards to that with Aluma and how he might potentially fit. We're seeing a little bit of it too here in the Summer League, and I want to throw that to you when we get back here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast, broadcasting live from Las Vegas. Having a great time out here and back home. I'm sure you are having a great Sunday. I hope you are. If you're looking to go out there and catch the baseball game right now, your Philadelphia team again, currently up 1-0. And now they're trying to beam Trey Turner because of his early home run and his hot start.
They're just throwing the ball out.
They're trying to take him out. So with it, he did it. Did he advance to first? He did advance to first base. He was hit by a pitch. So if you're looking and you're saying, you know what, this guy is on fire. He is on fire right now. And I need to go place a wager on what he is doing for his 8th home run now earlier in this game. Now they ticked him off because they hit him. You got to go to BetParx Sportsbook and put a wager on this. And we're brought to you by our good friends from BetParx app. Get in the zone with the BetParx Sportsbook app. Money is in the moment. And again, you might want to wager on Trey Turner to hit another home run in this one, or at least get a hit, because now you done ticked him off. Win big with all-day action. Win your first $10 bet and earn $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet. And so do the Philadelphia baseball team and Trey Turner. Download the app and play along with us. Must be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We also want to make sure we tell you about Indeed. We over here are driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Guys, Gene in the chat says, fellas, grab tacos while you're in Vegas.
Oh, we had some tacos already.
We did that on day one.
Day one, yes.
Day one.
There is a place that seems like
Thank you, Gene.
some authentic street tacos down on Fremont Street that I
the
might.
Truck. You talking about the truck?
No, it's like a little hole in the wall type place that has been calling my name. That somehow
I know when we saw
after all the, let's say, adult beverages that have been had at late hours here.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember a single adult beverage.
Yeah, well,
might be part of the problem though.
One of us was on the craps table, so I got a few more free beverages than you did yesterday.
I was going to say, I brought you one, and by the time I brought you one, you had like 3 others.
Okay, in my defense, the woman, the host, the waitress, hostess, whatever you would like to call her, she came up to me and actually took that drink that you provided for me while it still had some in it because I ordered another one. So that was that got whisked away in service of another cocktail. So I didn't slug it quite that quickly. I'd love to take credit for being Vegas Kyle, but not on that one.
Can we get your Charlie Murphy impression real fast so I can say this?
What? Saying darkness.
Says, I met some authentic streetwalkers on Fremont Street.
Oh, boy. There are some characters.
We have seen some darkness, no question. We
saw a guy, let's say a smaller man, who was wearing a full Chucky costume, Child's Play Chucky.
Oh, my
goodness. At one point, it was like a really involved mask with the hair and everything. And at one point, he took it off, and it was like, what's going on here? This is just a man. Like, what?
Stunning. I really thought it was Chucky. I was really disappointed.
I thought it was him.
And the other part with that one, we were like, damn, he has to be hot, man.
Oh man. Because it was the full overalls, the long sleeves,
and it's 11 o'clock at night, but it's still over 100 degrees. Yeah.
God bless him.
And meanwhile, he's standing next to a nun. So there, take it all. It's Fremont Street.
A nun. Yeah.
A nun with
that's
some
why I just said.
appendages hanging out, we'll say.
Good one. All right, Kyle, let me ask you about this when we talk about positionally with Aluma and trying to see where he may fit in the NBA. We talk about the 4, the 5, and shooting 4 there as a big in the league. And we look at him. We also saw him on the floor yesterday, as did everybody else who watched the game, so we're not breaking any news here. Bodner. They were both out there on the floor together, and while Coach Matt talked about they wanted some size for the rebounding, good idea playing against the Knicks too, right? Where in the playoffs, put another big out there to help rebound the basketball. But in this place here, in this setting, they wanted to go double big. So we kind of got a little bit of a glimpse of it here for, again, different type of competition, different level of competition, but seeing how they both play together, a big and then more of some size there for the rebounding, plus the shooting that Aluma has.
Yeah, and so some of that is, and I asked about this yesterday, some of it is that Bona right now is, I don't know if I would say elite as an offensive rebounder, but he's very good, as an offensive rebounder. The other end of the floor, he's having some trouble. Like he I don't know if it's a center of gravity thing. I don't know if it's positioning.
He definitely pursues some blocks that he has no chance to get.
Yeah, and that's some of it, right? Like he had 5 block shots yesterday, and so he's making an impact as a rim protector. But the consequence of that, as we've seen with Joel Embiid, who's a much more advanced defender than Bona is that you get pulled out of position as a rebounder, and it's very few guys have the second jump ability to go up, try to block a shot, miss the block, and then turn around immediately, hit somebody, and come down with a rebound. So Bona needed some help, or to get Bona on the floor and not completely give away the glass on the defensive end.
Yeah,
they needed a little bit of help, and Aluma helped there. And look, truthfully, I do think if Bona doesn't, if Aluma doesn't shoot, if he can't be on the floor next to another big, I do think it will be hard for him to become an NBA roster guy, right? Like he just has the limitations at his size, and vertical pop are real, and you're probably not going to be able to live with him against as like a true rim protector against NBA teams on a consistent basis. So the path for him has to be you're a 36, 37, hopefully better type of shooter from three. And then the skills he has next to another big are a lot more valuable. You can use he's got a big body. He's got like a pretty strong frame.
Yeah.
And you can use him as a rebounder, as an extra helper there. And that's where it has to come for him. The other thing that I think has impressed me, that is the reason I think I've evolved my position on him since the start of Summer League in Utah, is that all these other guys, like if we're talking about the jump in competition from Japan and Korea to the NBA, all the young guys, you can tell, and Jared McCain has talked about it, even Ricky has talked about it in the past, just that jump in speed, the pace of play, and like how much that impacts you. Aluma, you can see that he's benefited from that professional experience, to say like he has been very in control the whole time. Like not a lot of wasted economy of movement is how I would put it. Has put himself in good positions as a cutter, as somebody coming in from the dunker spot, taking some charges. He took one yesterday in the game here in Vegas. And so he seems like a mature player, like someone who has gained a ton from having that professional experience overseas. And so we'll see what happens the rest of the way in Vegas, but I think he's already done enough to at least get some consideration for a look in the NBA.
Yeah, he looks pretty good out there. We'll see how it goes for him again when they take the floor tomorrow against the who am I blanking on that they're playing tomorrow? I can't remember, but they're playing again tomorrow. Playing basketball tomorrow.
That's right.
It's all running into each other, right? As you said. But I ran into a couple of guys last night when we got back yesterday, when I left you guys to make a quick run to the other side of the
they play the Blazers tomorrow because it'll be Klingon, who, as we're talking about Bodner and Aluma, that's going to be a great challenge for those guys to deal with. He's huge.
Yes.
So the contrast in styles between Klingon and Bodner will be hilarious.
So one of the things that I was saying about the guys I ran into yesterday at the bar when I walked away from Philly, Derek and the gang, ran into them yesterday. And they love you guys. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to them. I told them that you guys were over there, but I don't know if they stopped to see you. But
nobody actually loves us. They're just being polite.
They love you guys. And they were talking about Bodner. They really like him. And they just said, he's got to stop going for these ball fakes.
Yeah.
He got to stop going for these ball fakes.
He did do a little bit of a better job on Saturday, I think.
He did. But they said, again, they liked him. But they like him so much, they're like, please just clean up that where you don't pick up these cheap fouls. You get 10 now, so you're good. But when you get to the big dance, you need to be able to stay on the floor a little bit to help out in that third center role there. But he seemed like he's gaining a lot of fans, even reading some of this chat here while we're doing this, that a lot of people are liking what Bodner does and see him. I mean, that dude, he just puts on some sneakers, some shorts, and a jersey and goes out there. You don't see any arm sleeves, no knee sleeves, just nothing. Just
hoops,
go out
baby.
there and let's just hoop and let's have at it. Let's just get this work done. And one more on the Luma, and who was that? Kyle Wright just asked, is he kind of like a Christian Wood type of player, and how's his attitude? Is it different from Christian Wood? Well, first of all, he's way different than Christian Wood in terms of attitude, so you don't even have to worry about that. He's A+ attitude compared to what Christian Wood has shown over the course of his career. And as a player, Christian Wood is probably a better overall player.
Yeah.
But Aluma,
that skill has never been Christian Wood's problem. It's all the other stuff.
No. So that's in. So who else yesterday? Ricky, we talked about him. He stood out. Some more of the game. What did you think of Ricky in his first game here back in Las Vegas? Since last year, he just didn't play well, but this one he was ready.
Well, look, anytime you throw down a reverse dunk in transition, you've had a good game.
And
I don't care what you do the rest of the day. That's a good game. And honestly, he did it at a point, and this is ridiculous because Summer League, it doesn't really matter. But they were dead in the water early on. They needed a jolt of energy. It was nice to get that. Got them on the board.
I love how he looked at the defender and just put the ball out there first and said, "Oh, okay, you're going to do something.
You're going to jump
Here
with
you go.
me."
Bang.
And then the second thing, he was asked after the game about hanging on the rim, getting attacked. He's like, look, I saw it happen earlier today. I knew it was probably going to happen.
I got 10 fouls. It's Summer League.
That's all right. It's early in the game. We can give him up that point. I'm going to do it. So I appreciate that as well. So right off the bat, 2 great signs for Ricky. And the fact that he was able to have an impact even though his jumper wasn't falling. So much in Utah, not that everything was predicated on his jumper, because obviously he was getting to his spots, driving, taking people off the dribble. But he was shooting a high volume. I think it was over 6 per game in Utah, making 42%.
Took 6 last night. So
Didn't come out.
Kept up with the pace.
Kept up with the pace. That's fine. Didn't necessarily make him. Still found a way to be effective. He has just been a really, really good player. And we mentioned before that we don't necessarily look for consistency in Summer League. You really want signs of productivity and talent that can translate. But the fact that he has shown both those flashes and also has been really consistent in doing so here now over 4 games, it bodes well. And I do worry a little bit, like how much longer is he going to play? Because he is driving a lot of the watchability factor here for the Sixers in the summer. But he has done enough. I'm not sure how much more he has to prove at this stage, which is good. He has very, very clearly made a lot of progress in a lot of areas in his game over the last 12 months, and he has been showing that all summer so far.
My favorite one outside of the dunk, and Jeff Doughton hit him with another one later on where he bounced past one.
Yeah. I love this.
And bounced past one and caught it. It's Summer League, too, so go ahead, show off a little bit, even though the game is over. It wasn't a blowout, but the game was over. He made the first 3 in front of us in the first half, and then he comes back in transition. The ball swings to him in the other far corner, and he caught it, shot it, made it. No hesitation. He just did it. And that's what you want to see from him. And when he makes them, similar to what Aluma and what Coach Matt was talking about yesterday, is that he makes those in the real game. They're just going to try to close out on him harder, and he's going to have to put the ball on the floor. We've seen him be able to do that and finish at the rim. So that was something. It's a small thing, but it's an important thing for his development when the games matter, when the games count. The other stuff with him, of course, is his body control is really good, but sometimes it's a detriment because he feels like he relies
can do on that. It a little too much.
He can do that against any defender because of his hang time, the way he can control himself in the air.
Look, if I could jump in the air, take contact, contort myself on the way down, I would do that all the time. I get it.
Yeah. So I get it. What were your thoughts, though?
I would say this: most important stat of the day: 9 for 9 from the free throw line.
Nailed it.
And so didn't shoot well from 3, didn't shoot well in general yesterday. Getting to the line is important, but if we're looking, and people increasingly do, if you're looking at the free throw line as that's the indicator of like who you are as a shooter. I'm not saying Ricky Council is going to make 100% of his threes because he made 100% of his 9 free throws yesterday, but it is a good sign for the progress that he's made. He was what, like was he in the 70s at
Arkansas?
Sounds about right. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't great.
Wasn't awful, but it's such a critical part of his game because, as we say, he wants to hit people. Yes. He goes into the paint knowing, like, all right, I'm going to put my shoulder into that guy. And he takes some ill-advised shots, those weird kind of fadeaway floaters near the basket. I would like to see him cut down on those a little bit. Yeah, he was like a 78, almost 79% free throw shooter at Arkansas and Wichita State. Low volume his first 2 years. So the more that we see him get to the line and consistently knock down free throws, the better I feel long-term about the shot will come. He will get there with some consistency. The fact that the volume continues to be there, 6 attempts per game, he's here to work on the things that he needs to work on in order to be a sidekick for the guys like Joel and Tyrese and Paul George. Yes, he has a lot more leeway to try stuff and, show off the high upside, the athleticism type stuff here. But I think he's shown a commitment to doing what he's going to have to do in order to be a role player on this team.
And Boots makes another good point from the game yesterday. 2 steals, 6 rebounds, 0 turnovers from Ricky in the game as well. So when we get back, we're going to keep this conversation going about Summer League and some sights and sounds from Summer League, what we saw in the arena. That was a fun time in the arena yesterday. We saw a lot of people in the arena. We'll get to that, but we'll also want to ask you guys a question,
too. We might have seen a relative of Devon's there even.
Maybe. We also want to ask.
Honestly, we've seen a few relatives of Devon.
We'll ask another question about the offseason while we're enjoying the Summer League guys from Jared McCain. As much as looking at him, everything hasn't been up to the standard of what he wants to see. He is an intriguing prospect. Bodner we've talked about. Aluma we've also discussed. But we also want to discuss some of the other things that happened outside of Paul George, the roster is pretty much set here as we look at what things are. There may be some little tinkering there, but overall, the roster is pretty much intact. So we want to ask you all, and I'm going to ask Derek and Kyle to give everybody a little bit of time to think about it, your favorite move of the offseason, personally, your personally favorite move of the offseason, not named Paul George. When we come back,
damn it,
we'll get to that as I look at Jeremiah Trotter and Trot Jr. opening up some NASCAR things going on maybe back home.
What?
Look at that. Look at Trot Jr. right there in front of us on the screen.
That must be at Pocono, right?
It must be. It must be in somewhere in Jersey. But we'll do that when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast Pocono? Live from Circa here in Las Vegas. And I want to tell you, look, we've been here for 7 days. We've done a lot of walking. And I am now a year removed from my injury happening. Thank you for my Achilles injury happening. But it's been tested with all the walking. So when we get back.
Also me tackling Devon on Fremont Street just to surprise him one day.
Yes. But I had my surgery, as many of you know, at Rothman Orthopedics. I had 2 great physicians. My surgeons were fantastic. Their staff was amazing. And I may have to go visit them just to kind of get a little checkup. Hey, can you get out that graft thing that you do to kind of rub over my Achilles to make sure I'm good? Because the joints are aching, and I might need to get back at it. And at Rothman Orthopedics, practicing specialized care has been their passion for over 50 years. Their mission, high quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research leading to new treatments and better outcomes. Each Rothman doc is laser focused on their specialty. I had 2 of the best. I'm singling them out because I have a personal now relationship with them. I can reach out whenever I need to. They have been fantastic, and they're right here in our own backyard. So you can cross over the defense, drain those jump shots like I'm going to probably do at Sixers practice today, and root for the teams that you do.
Wow.
Like the fans in the country. This is a year removed, man. I got to show off in front of the staff. I need to get the 10-day contract or Exhibit 10. They're Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialize in you. Rothman proudly serves dozens of communities across Pennsylvania and New Jersey with 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers as well. Patients will find the full spectrum of orthopedic care at Rothman Orthopedics, from diagnosis to discharge. They provide their patients with every service and procedure necessary, such as x-rays, orthotics, and bracing, MRIs, physical therapy, and more. And I tell you, I had each of them with Rothman Orthopedics because of my injury. So if you need it as well, Rothman Orthopedics specializes in orthopedics, and you visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today.
And guys, obviously, we have to thank once again our wonderful partners here at Circa Resort and Casino. We've now been here. This is day 3, yeah?
Day 3 here, yes.
And so we've done a lot more exploring. We've eaten the food. We've won some money at the craps table.
Speak for yourself.
Wow. You have to play the game to try to win the game.
No, I lost money playing other games.
What's the Teddy Roosevelt quote where it's like the man in the arena, the one LeBron loves to say is like his favorite quote. Anyway, I've been in the arena, so to speak, at Circa. But also, look, we've been at the Victory Burger and Wings Company. There's Project Barbecue. There's good food that's also available quickly, which you love that at a casino. You keep your day moving. You could go up to Stadium Swim, which, Devon, I think, is going to end up there.
I need it.
Later today.
Some pre-Rothman work there in the pool.
We've had good breakfast options. There's good coffee options. Having some cold brew to get me through the morning as I spend way too long at night bouncing around, saying hello to people, having some fun here. There's a little bit of something for everyone at, by the way, I mentioned it yesterday, Vegas's first ever adults-only casino. You get in here, you don't have to worry about those kids. You don't have to worry about any whining and complaining, unless people are losing at blackjack, but we hope that nobody is. Something is happening because people are at the sportsbook screaming right now.
Yankees hit a home run.
Oh.
Screw those guys.
I was going to say, I'll reserve my comments there.
Guys.
But also,
that's what you get here.
We're part of the live experience. Great rooms, big bed, nice bathroom, a nice shower with, by the way, I have a bench seat in my shower, and I have needed that the last
in all honesty, that's been one of my takeaways. I had a friend in college who every time he would go to a restaurant, he would grade it based on how good the chicken parm was. Oh, man, it was dry. It was overcooked. I don't care what else they do. It's a trash restaurant. My thing is water pressure in the shower, and this place
beautiful shower with a bench seat. So
perfect.
Put all that together. We've had a great time. If you can't tell from the bags under my eyes and the fatigue in my voice, we've had a great time at Circa Resort and Casino. So next time you come to Vegas, come on down to Fremont Street and check them out.
Yep, this place is awesome. Yeah, absolutely awesome. Flyers in 7 says, no Sphere? Where did you went to?
We did there. Yeah, 2 days ago.
We went to the Sphere. Flyers in 7. You missed it. We went
did
to
a whole review yesterday.
Dead & Co. You got to go back and check out the show yesterday now as we reviewed Dead & Co.
Like the first 15 minutes of that show, we talked almost exclusively about the Sphere.
And then he also said, hey, I want a shower seat. Well, come here to Circa.
Martian Lynch said I'm a true weekend warrior. Brother, I've been here for a week.
That.
I'm a week warrior at this point. I'm fighting for my damn life out here.
And Emma can attest to it, doing the show here with us, producing the show. But this has been a blast. This place is fantastic, and everybody's also telling me not to take any shots at the practice today. I'm only taking shots. I'm not running. We've run to catch the car or all these other things, but I've been running. It's fine. These guys can tell you. I went to the gym the other morning. I was on the treadmill for about a half hour. I can run. I'm good with running. I'm okay. I can run. But really appreciate it. All right, guys and gals out there, ask everybody before we took that quick break. Derek, your favorite move of the offseason for the Sixers, and I know maybe some of it's calculator-based. Calculator.
Whoa.
Sorry about that.
Jeez.
We got coffee all over this desk, Devon. You can't go doing that.
All right, calculator. But your favorite move that Daryl Morey has made this offseason outside of Paul George, because he's pretty much had a really good offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think this one's probably – I would be surprised if we all didn't have the same one. But I think Caleb Martin, like to get him on that contract at that low price, I think Daryl pretty correctly guessed that he would have a little more buying power with that than you would in previous seasons. You got a player that will contribute, that will be in your rotation, that you can pencil in for very, very low. And that's part of the calculus he makes going for a 3-star lineup. Like, there's a lot of debate. Are stars going to, is 3 stars a thing of the past? And we talked about that a lot coming up. And I think the NBA at large has been pretty clear, no, we're still going to pursue stars. They're still going to get their money. But a lot of that middle class is going to get squeezed. And in order to sustain a 3-star system, you have to have bought into the idea that players like Caleb Martin are going to get far less than they previously would. And that you're going to be able to build a roster even if you have a lot of money tied into 3 players, because teams are not going to pay, non-all-star players what they were previously worth. And I think it's not just that the Sixers were able to get Caleb Martin that makes that signing the best move Daryl made. It was the fact that he predicted this market and knew there's not – I'm not going to say there's no consequence to going the 3-star route, because it is going to be tougher than it ever was to build around 3 stars. But by predicting the market, he knew he could go this route and still be able to fill out a roster.
Yeah, it didn't necessarily have to be Caleb Martin. It was just somebody was going to shake loose that was going to really help this team, as long as you're able to get the 3rd star in here. So I think that's the easy answer. I'm going to go somewhere a bit differently, and it's not going to be an addition to the roster. I think the best and most important move of this offseason was not just that they extended Tyrese Maxey and gave him the max deal. It was that Morey, the front office, the coaching staff, ownership, the whole organization came back after asking Tyrese to take the risk over last season. And they said, not only are we giving you that deal that already knew he was getting, right? No, this was no secret for a while that Tyrese is getting this contract. But driving home for him, we appreciate your sacrifice. We appreciate you as a player. We appreciate you as a person. You matter to us in a meaningful way. And if you're looking at it beyond the roster building stuff, one of the most important things that Daryl Morey had to dispel after last offseason is are you somebody that players and agents are going to trust, right? When your relationship falls apart with James Harden, who he went to war with over and over and over again, brought him back to be alongside him, to be one of his guys in Philadelphia after that long run in Houston, after trying to trade for him while he was still in Houston and that whole thing with Ben Simmons and whatnot, and failed on that front before eventually getting him out of Brooklyn. When that relationship disintegrated, it was perfectly fair to sit there and say, what are the long-term repercussions of this? Is this guy now going to get boxed out by certain players? And look, especially in Paul George's case, a guy who played with James Harden, who would have heard from James Harden directly.
Yes.
This is how that relationship fell apart. And so if you look at it, Daryl's had a reputation for a long time of like, this guy is a cold, hard numbers guy. Like, he just cares about the percentages and what the analytics say and all that. And so this is not just about him. This was a much bigger project and a sign to Tyrese. It was not – Daryl Morey didn't create the Tyrese Maxey Museum. I can almost guarantee you that. But being able to put a statement like that out there to show people and to show Tyrese and other people who might come here eventually, like, I will take care of you.
Yes.
That was an isolated incident. I am still a guy who wants to treat stars and players correctly. And I think based on the fact that Paul George came here, that you could get Caleb Martin, that you got Andre Drummond as a guy that we all think is going to be a good backup once again, at least in the regular season to Joel Embiid. That was as important as anything that they did this offseason.
Somehow, some way in the arena next season, they should make that Maxey Museum available.
Oh, yeah. I think that's something they'll play probably at halftime during a game.
But even if they had it set up somewhere where there was they had it walled off, and the arena is big enough where maybe they could do that because so many people appreciate it. And that was a great one. Of course, yours is the one that you said we will all agree on. And then the other one I think that a lot of people are pointing out is the Kelly Oubre one, to get him on the number that they did, and right around that $8 million. And for it to be the number that they got him at, betting on getting a deal on him last year for the minimum, it paid off. And him also, and we don't know what the market necessarily was for him, but he did come back. And while he has a player option on year 2, you get him again, where you're looking at a situation where we're talking about a team that's a contending team in the East again. He is right now, at least for us, slotted in that starting lineup. So he's going to be
he will be a big part of the rotation.
He's going to be a big part of their 8-man group one way or another. And we just saw DeAnthony Melton with a bad back get decent money from Golden State. So if he comes back and they win again and they do this and they go deeper, maybe advance further than we've seen them in the past, Kelly Oubre is going to benefit from that again and get another big contract. So you probably get the best of him once again in year 2 in the Sixers uniform. And for him to have that length with Paul George, with Caleb Martin in that starting group, to take some of that pressure off of Maxey on the defensive end, but also know that he is that same type of scoring option on the other end. Daryl Morey did that one right. And we were critical of it last year, but it's even more paid off now, because if you do get it again this year, it was a very, very good, it was a shrewd move, even though Kelly Oubre didn't have many options last year, but he decided to come back and do it again here. Yeah,
and crucially, at the end of this contract, they will have Kelly Oubre's, if he opts out, they will have his early bird rights or his full bird rights if he plays out the full 2 years. When we start talking about a team in the second apron territory, that's going to be crucial to be able to bring back a player.
All right, we got some time. We're running out here, so we got to get to a couple of things, couple of super chats. Brian Pearson just wanted to donate $2. Brian, thank you,
Brian.
We really appreciate it, Brian. We really appreciate it. I was talking to Brian a little bit earlier. He was happy about the Caleb Martin move in general in the chat. So we pointed out Brian there. Appreciate the donation.
He's going directly on 16, buddy.
Going directly on 16. Davon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats. I'm a fan of Edwards, Justin Edwards, his defense, and Aluma as a stretch 4. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked a lot about Aluma. In terms of Edwards, I'm still uncertain. Like, the shot is a question mark to me. The athleticism, ability to take people off the dribble is a question mark. How quickly he can move his feet defensively, I think there are a lot of decent question marks there, which, again, makes sense. Bring him into camp, bring him into a two-way, evaluate him against this level of competition. I do think there's a significant amount of question marks in his game. If he puts it all together and answers every one of those question marks, he certainly has a size that he can be a contributor, but I do still have my questions, yeah.
He's 19. There's some stuff there. I'm willing to see it play out, at least with the G League, and see how it all works out.
Yeah, so we talked about guys like this that went much higher or went in the draft, but much higher in the draft. He feels like a guy who, it's like, if you squint at enough things, like, yeah, maybe he could be a player, but I don't know what the thing is right now. I can see he's big enough and is bought in enough so far defensively that I think maybe that's the early calling card. You hope to use him there, like come in and be an energy guy, whatever. I think the problem is his athleticism. I don't want to say limitations. He's not a bad athlete,
right.
But he's certainly not a good or above average athlete. He's probably like right in the middle, I would say, on the NBA bell curve. So can he hit enough shots to justify hanging around? I don't know. He's been very up and down. But again, we did get at least one strong performance out of him in Utah. We'll see if you get another one here while we're in Las Vegas. But he's at least like I'm okay with him as a two-way guy. Like I'm to give him some time and see what happens with him.
Yeah, and sort of tying these two players together, there was a lot of conversation in our chat earlier about, like, well, don't dismiss Aluma just because he's older, and I agree with that, but this is where the age shows up. Like, if you would have looked at Aluma at Justin Edwards' age, he didn't have a three-point shot.
Yes.
He didn't legitimately, like his first couple years in college, he didn't shoot at all.
Yeah.
He didn't necessarily have this all-around game, and you would have looked at him and said, all right, he's an undersized power forward without a jump shot, without really the advanced ball handling skills. How does he fit in the NBA? You wouldn't be able to find it. So you gave Aluma a chance to develop his skills overseas, come in here, and now maybe earn a two-way spot. Justin Edwards needs a couple of years to take his average physical tools and develop some, skills that you can rely on a night-to-night basis to make the most of it. I'm not sure he's there yet. Because he has that two-way contract, now he has a chance to develop that. But this is where the age and the experience and the chance to refine those skills and the chance to go against professionals on a night-to-night basis, that gives someone like Aluma a leg up. And because of that, it's tough to necessarily compare directly these two players in that regard.
All right, we got a couple of minutes. I wanted to ask you guys sights and sounds from yesterday in general. A lot of people we ran into. We saw a lot of people yesterday. Mm-hmm. That place was buzzing.
Yes. So favorite thing I saw yesterday, we were sitting directly behind Cade Cunningham, and he essentially had a Pistons staffer running back and forth into the crowd, jumping up, grabbing hats, programs, jerseys, anything he could get his hands on to sign stuff. Thomas and Max Security actually tried to stop it at one point. Now, Cade didn't use this language, but Cade basically told the Detroit Pistons staffer, who said, oh, that guy's telling you can't do it. He's like, fuck that. I'm going to keep signing autographs. So I respect Cade Cunningham a lot for, seeing these. That's what these people are here for, is to get close to the players. So gained a little bit more appreciation for him as a guy, seeing him reach out to the fans like that.
Derek?
I mean, my sight and sound is watching you work that floor. Every time you look up, Devon was just like across the room, talking to somebody else, just talking to everyone you can imagine. Mad respect. That is my main takeaway.
I didn't do anything. I just
Where's Devon? Oh, he's over there talking to. Well, I won't blow up your spot, but he's over there talking to everyone.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, it was good to see everybody.
I told you, it's a really great spot, though, right? Like,
there's
everyone in the NBA that's around here. It's real easy to get caught up in conversation.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see everybody. You already mentioned Kale. We saw Kale yesterday. Didn't get a chance to introduce you guys to him because they were just moving. But, yeah, we talked to Kale for a second and talked to him a little bit later on as well. My
other thing, Tim Hardaway Jr. was wearing a Locks hat yesterday. So that was shout out to Tim Hardaway Jr.
Not my favorite hat. Not my favorite.
I love the Locks.
I like the Locks, too, but it's not my favorite. All right, roll call. Let's
shout
get a roll call.
Jadakiss. I don't know if we can get a
We just got to do an abbreviated.
2-minute warning. Marshall Lynch 33, Rick Morris, Val Host, Kyle Wright, Winona, Bootzilla,
Boots,
Darkness, Brian Pearson. Who else is in here today? Hassan.
Ramid.
There are too many names.
Everybody. We'll catch up with everybody
Marcus
tomorrow.
There's Devon Givens, Brian Knight. Thank you guys for coming. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. Hit the thumbs up button.
Tomorrow live from Stadium
and
Swim.
We will maybe do a longer roll call tomorrow.
We will dedicate some time.
Thank you guys for coming through.
Thank you, Emma.
Catch you on Monday. Thank you to Emma for producing.
We appreciate it.
We all silly like the mayor.